Hi everybody, welcome to... There it is. I was waiting for the recording proof. Welcome to Tuesday the 2nd of March. It is our final week of home learning. It is lesson number 6. Let's get started. So today, I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to go to a PowerPoint. You need to have... This PowerPoint is in your pack, but also so is this sheet. It does say that it's part of the extra learning, but really a lot of you could do it, or at least have a go. Everyone can have a go at it. So there are these questions here. I was imagining that you could cut out one of these cards and you could answer the 3 questions that are on there. Or you could do extra detail about it. You could do whatever you wanted with it, but it was more to try and answer these questions and think a bit deeper about why the Romans might have used these. So we've got Roman artifacts. That is what we're looking at today. So I'm going to make my screen big. An artifact is an object made by a human being, typically one of cultural or historical interest. So it could be a coin from a certain era, it could be a tool, could be even just a bowl and a spoon. But if it came from historical time, it tells us about the civilization. It tells us about what they knew. It tells us about what they did, how they used things, and it can tell us so much about the history. So artifacts are, 1, very interesting. 2, they can be very delicate and very fragile and precious. We need to look after them because they give us so much information about the past. So how does an archaeologist work? Sorry, how if I can read properly. Archaeology is the scientific study of human life through the investigation of man-made objects. So somebody is finding things from history and working out how they were used for human life before. I am aware that I'm reading. Sometimes I find it difficult to read when somebody else is reading. Feel free to read along with me. Feel free to mute me if you want to just read the board yourself. Archaeologists are like detectives. They observe artifacts to discover clues about the person who once owned it. By piecing together the clues, archaeologists can answer questions about how past civilizations lived. So civilizations are groups of people who lived in a certain time. What does an archaeologist need to do their job? A spade, a brush, a magnifying glass, a tape measure, a pen, paper. What does each tool do? On a nearby building site, work has stopped due to an important discovery. A pile of Roman artifacts has been unearthed. Oh, I'm just thinking, actually, let's go back. Have a think here why you would need each of those tools. Just thinking if we were in class, we would do this. So those of you in class, you could stop and have a talk about it. Those of you have at home, what do you think they need each of those tools for? You could even write them down if you want to and pause it now. Okay, so on a nearby building site, work has stopped due to an important discovery. A pile of Roman artifacts has been unearthed. Your job is to support the archaeologists to carefully remove and piece together the artifacts in order to identify what has been discovered, how old the objects might be, who the artifacts might have belonged to. So these are the things you would tick off as you were doing it. As the first archaeologist on the scene, you need to carefully use your tools to unearth the artifacts. Can you find all the pieces and fit them together? What do you think you have discovered? What evidence can you see that suggests the age of the artifact? What could the artifact be? Who might have used it? And how did it get there? So as an archaeologist, those are the questions you'd be asking yourself all the time. So everything you find, you'll be asking these questions. Gathering the evidence. Here are the artifacts that were discovered. So I'll show you those in the next few pages. Use your skills as an archaeologist to investigate each artifact. Now again, because we're not in class, we can't do this the way that we would like to do it. But at home, feel free to pause it, have a think, what could it be? Who would use it? So go back to these questions all the time. So each item, think, what could the artifact be? Who might have used it? How did it get here? How old do we think it is? So Excuse me. What are they? Who might have owned them? Investigate in your groups and write down your first ideas. Again, we can't do that, so we will just go straight on. So here's our first item. Have a look at it. What do you think it is? Who might have used it and why? Again, feel free to pause it. Here's our second object. Do you know what it is? Who do you think might have used it? Here's the third item. Do you think all these items go together? Is our fourth item? What do you think it's made of? Who do you think wore it? Was it something to be worn? Finally, here's our fifth one. Okay, so, oh, it's in a funny order. Put it up. So these are sandals. Now I'm going to attempt the Latin words, but can't promise I'm going to say it right. Caligay? Caliga. Not sure. They were designed to help soldiers march for long distances. Why would they march? There were no cars or vehicles to transport troops. The Romans were great engineers who built straight roads to help the soldiers march across the Roman Empire. The sandals were strong, well ventilated, and allowed the soldiers to march quickly. Why were the shoes built so well? The soldiers marched up to 20 miles a day. Think about us doing a daily mile. That's 1 mile. They would walk 20 miles a day, and they would be holding their shields, holding their swords, holding all their armor, carrying stuff. That's a long way. Their feet would need to be in good condition. Why did the sandals have metal studs on the bottom? The studs meant the sandals would last longer. I would think from something else. So again, using my background knowledge, I have shoes that I wear for hockey that are called Astros, and they have lots of little bits that would give me some grip as well. So perhaps that could be another reason. Next, we have the metal jacket. The Latin word lorica segmentata, maybe. The segments, perhaps, are all the different bits of it that go together. The metal jacket was a flexible piece of armour made of metal and leather strips, held together by metal ties. Why was it made of metal, and why flexible? A metal jacket would have given greater protection in battle. The armour was made from overlapping iron strips, which would make it easier to move and bend. Have a think about why would you want to be able to move and bend? The armour would be heavy. Soldiers would need help getting prepared. Why did they want to wear such heavy armour? They wanted to wear heavy armour because it would protect them in battle. Beneath the armour, soldiers wore a long tunic made of rough wool. It was long enough to reach to mid-thigh. So your thigh is your top part of your leg. Why was it so long? It was long because Roman soldiers did not wear trousers. Now, I remember somebody last week in the section where you wrote what you already knew, what you wanted to learn, and then what you'd learnt. In the questions part and what you wanted to know, somebody asked about why there was a soldier wearing what looked like a dress. And so back then it was called a tunic. And they didn't really wear trousers. They were almost like it is like a dress. It was like a tunic, and they have their armour over the top. And I guess maybe it kept them airy, kept them especially in warmer countries, it's quite nice. It's not too hot. But if you've got all that armour on top of you, actually being able to move easily and not having any restrictive clothing on the bottom half, maybe that's why. So a shield, a scutum, the Latin word. I'm not sure. We're going to have to learn some Latin, guys. Why was it rectangular and curved in shape? This meant it could fit around the body for protection. So they would have that arm in it, either that way or that way. I think it was that way. And but it would curve around their body, and they could crouch slightly, and it would completely cover their body. Now, I'm hoping that at some point we'll get to actually create some shields. We won't be able to make them as big as this, but we'll be able to create some of the formations they did. The Romans were amazing in battle. and they create these formations to make a big shield, one giant shield to protect them all. Very clever. Why was it made from wood and leather and not metal like the armour? Metal would be too heavy as the shield needed to be lifted. Wood and leather were also easier to repair or to replace. Why were the shields so wide? They could be held closely to another shield as soldiers fought in formation. They could be lifted above the heads of soldiers and form a protective wall at the front, back, and sides. Sword, gladius. That word makes you think of a gladiator who would have had a sword. What does it make you think of? Okay, why was it so short? You think about, sometimes people, when they have a shield, they then have a long spear as well. It was used as a stabbing weapon for close hand-to-hand fighting. So once the people came really close, right up to the shield, then they would use it. Why was it worn on the right side? It was worn on the right because the shield was held in the left hand. Perhaps they all were very uniform with it. So they all had the shield on the left, sword on the right. Helmet. Gallia or cassis? Cassis? Case, perhaps. What was it used for? What do you think it was used for? It protected the head, face, and neck in battle. Have a look at it now. Which bit do you think covered the neck? Which bit do you think protected the face? The forehead, neck, and cheeks would be protected from sword blows by the metal flaps. Why did centurions and officers wear crests on the top of the helmet? The crest meant they could be seen as they led the men into battle. There were some that had an extra bit on their head, and something we'll learn about are legions and centurions, and it basically meant that, a bit like in the army now, you have kind of officers and captains, and they have their own group of people that they're in charge of. A bit like in school, Miss Pruitt is the leader of the whole school, and then, for example, you've got like me and Mrs. Gadd and Miss Martin who are in charge of our class, I suppose. So, well done. As an archaeologist, you have discovered important information that helps us understand events from the past. Can you use your knowledge to build up a picture of a Roman soldier? So here we go. Here is our Roman soldier. So for your task, you would need to draw the soldier in his armour. You can always copy this picture if you would like to. And then label all the bits of information. So at the lowest level, I would like to label helmet, shield. He's got a spear there, so his sword is just tucked behind his shield. The metal jacket and the sandals. Next level, I would like you to write a little bit about all of those things. And then finally is to use the challenge cards and to answer all those questions. But most of the questions were answered in the PowerPoint, so you could always use that for some help. So here's some extra information just to help you. You've got your shield. It was curved to protect the body and made from wood and leather. The helmet, it was made from metal and covered the forehead, neck and cheeks. The sword, it was a short sword worn at the side of the body. It was used in close hand-to-hand conflict. Armour. The armour had overlapping strips of metal tied with leather straps. It was heavy but flexible. Sandals. A Roman soldier's sandals were made from leather and had metal studs on the soles. They were comfortable and durable. So that would be the kind of thing that I would expect to see in your books, but using your own words. Okay. Then you would then go on to these, cut them out, stick them into your book. You don't have to do all of them, you could just do some, but they've got lots of questions on them. Or if you wanted to, you could just copy out the questions and then answer them as your extra work. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to my board. That's everything for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed being an archaeologist. Is there anybody that wants to now be an archaeologist after having done some learning about the Romans over the last week? That's a cool job to do. And outdoorsy, hands-on, very fun. Okay guys, see you tomorrow.